One of the biggest stories that everyone keeps messaging me about is the fight between the Assyrians and the Muslim boys, yeah. But there was no fight between the Assyrians and Muslim boys. It was an incident, but Chinese whispers. Everyone talks so much rubbish. You know what? It's beyond me when a 9-to-5 guy is sitting there talking rubbish to me on my comments, and they don't even know what happened. They just heard it from someone else, yeah? And then I had people messaging me about stuff that I talked about before, and I was like, why are you arguing with me when I was there, you idiot? Like, get out of my face, block. That's my thing, you know? I don't care about followers. I'm just like, block. Right. But this fight with the last hour boys, when I was inside, the guys who were the forefront was Ray and Leonard, yeah? And these are the two guys that I met at Lithgow Prison 2012 when I was there with the heavy names such as Mick Howie, Emad Sleeman, Haskalachi, Waza Al-Assad, Rabi my brother was there with me as well, that Baghdadi was there. All big names were at this prison when I was there at the time, including Bill Houcher. Yeah, it was like, I don't think there could be any other big names. Like even with the Kuri boys that was there, there was heavy hitters as well there with the like Phil Jarrett. He's known for a lot of these ones from back in his day, you know, and he was also there, and also the young brother Salim Taba. You know, I'm very, very close with him. But this is what I got to say to all the youngsters out there around the world who's watching this, or even the young adults who are watching this right now. Like, you have a choice, yeah? And whatever that choice is, that's what's going to happen to you tomorrow. Don't worry about what's going to happen next week or next year, yeah? Like, the choice you make today is what's going to happen tomorrow, you know? So if you want to be a drug dealer today, you might get arrested tomorrow, you know? If you want to stick to being your 9-to-5 guy, a 9-to-5 job today, tomorrow you might get a promotion. This is what I'm saying. You all have a choice, all right? So the story with the last hour boys and the Muslim boys, that never happened, all right? The story was between Leonard, who was with the last hour, and Eddie Darwich, who was a Muslim. But it wasn't a religious thing, wasn't Christians versus Muslim, like everyone's talking about all rubbish shit like that. This is literally gang related, yeah? I was there when it happened. I was standing on top of the unit 3 because I was a sweeper. So I actually saw the whole thing from the beginning to the end. And everyone else that tries to tell this story, it makes me laugh when they weren't even bloody there, yeah? And I'm like, when did that happen? Like, what are you freaking talking about? I was standing right at the top watching it. I've had probably about 50 people try to tell me this story, and they weren't even there. This is what happens when you want to live this type of life and you just talk rubbish, yeah? But let me stop it right there. Before I go on with this story, I just want to give big shout out, big love and respect to everyone that's been sending through gifts, to everyone that's been messaging through. I apologize if I'm not answering your questions right now. I'm just trying to get out these stories, because these stories that I tell are the stories that the younger generation will learn from. And so if you're wanting to know things, message me privately. There's an influx of messages, but I will get to you. You make the time to message me, I'll make the time to reply, no matter how long it takes me. But for everyone that's out there, I need you guys on TikTok. Everyone on TikTok needs to tap it up. All right, I need these likes to get up there so it can give me the opportunity to keep doing what I'm doing. I don't give a damn about money, but we need to freaking keep my platform at the top, because a lot of people who are on social media right now are getting dirty, because there's people, beautiful women and handsome guys who have over 1 million followers, but when they go live, they're only getting 80 to 300 people watching them, yeah? I was expecting that amount to be watching me, but I've been hitting over 1,000, 2,000 every time I go live. That's why I'm always sending my love and respects to each and every one of you out there. And when I'm hitting these numbers, I always want to make sure that I hit a good amount of likes so that TikTok can see that I am doing my job as a public figure. Because for those of you who don't know this, when I first started going live on TikTok, they kept shutting me down after 20 minutes. I would get 2,000 people watching me, and then after 20 minutes, bang, they shut me down. And it was because of certain things I'm saying. And for those of you who haven't noticed, in the last 3 lives, TikTok have now allowed me to just tell my stories, because they know what I'm saying is what the kids will learn from. I'm not here trying to glorify gang-related stuff. I'm not here trying to show you or tell you how much of a gangster I was back then. I'm not here trying to tell you, you youngsters, like what to do. Here's my story. If you learn from it, cool. If not, it is what it is with Triggz. Simple as that. So please, everyone out there on TikTok, tap it up. Tap it up, all right? Now, let's get to this fight with Leonard and Eddie Darwich. There's a lot of other stories that I have to tell you that's got to do with all these heavy hitters. But this story here is probably one of the biggest stories, because a lot of rubbish came out of this story. Especially the newspaper brought this story up as well. Same thing, Telegraph. And it was never a Christian versus Muslim thing. For those of you who don't know, Leonard is Assyrian. He's aligned with the last hour. The police say that he is the last hour, but that's none of my business. All I'm going to say is that's who Leonard is, but he's not a Muslim. And the yard that he was in is a Muslim yard, and only Muslim boys can go in there. But when Leonard was accepted into the Muslim yard, that was because of the love and respect that the Muslim boys had for him. Same as another Assyrian man, his name was Adishu. Yeah, I love this old man. He was in for something that happened to a police officer, and he copped a big whack for it. And when I was with him, he'd already done over 18 years, and he still had another 10 or something to go. Yeah, but rest in peace to Adishu. Like, he did pass away while he was in prison, and forgive me, his family, for bringing up his name, but I just had to say his name because he was a beautiful man. And big respect to all the Muslim boys that allowed Adishu to come into their yard, because remember, Adishu was Assyrian, so they follow Christianity, you know, or whatever it is that they follow. But I yelled out to Adishu when he was in the Muslim yard, and I said, bro, you can see all the Muslim boys praying every day. Would you like to come to the Islander yard? You know, there's a lot of Christian boys here, and it doesn't feel awkward, you know, when you're doing laps by yourself, because the whole Muslim yard used to pray together, and the screws used to try to start talking about like how intimidating it looked, yeah, when they prayed. And I was like, why are you intimidated by the way that they pray? Like, they're you know, like they're there speaking to their God, like Allah, you know, and when the prayer is called, the whole jail can hear it, yeah. And it's like the most beautiful thing when the prayer happens, because pretty much as soon as the prayer is sounded, like everyone would turn their head and look and say, oh yeah, the Muslims are about to pray. But when I used to look across, Adishu would be doing laps by himself, because no one could ever talk Adishu out of his beliefs and the religion that he grew up with. And I'm not even going to bring up all the stuff that I've seen in the past when it came to religious dramas, yeah. But Leonard was also accepted into the Muslim yard, and again, big respects to the Muslim boys for allowing a non-Muslim to come into their yard. And when he was in there, he was well loved and well respected. Obviously, because Leonard is a gentleman. Yes, he's known for going on with it, but bro, there's only a few people that's well loved by all nationalities, and I can honestly say Dave Tafua, Leonard, and Adishu were 3. Obviously, I can say probably another couple more, but everyone else, you can say that everyone loves you, but let me tell you, I was in and amongst everything. You're talking rubbish. All right. When I say well loved by every nationality, it means when the racial wars were popping off, yeah, these were the only guys that were given access to walk freely and not get jumped. And that was Leonard Adishu and Dave Tafua, and that was because they were well loved by every nationality. Now, the drama with Leonard and Eddie Darwich. Woo! Tap it up, mate. Tap it up, because this is gonna be a big story. Better see you tapping it up. All right. It all started from when Eddie Darwich was in the Muslim yard. He had come out of Supermax, yeah? And the Muslim yard doesn't matter if you're gang related. It doesn't matter if you're the biggest gangster in Sydney, yeah? You know the Muslim yard? Like, they grab you and they tell you straight. Here is religion. Like, every day. We don't want to hear your gang rubbish. We don't want to hear your rap songs. If you want to play your rap songs, leave it in the cell. In this yard, there's no drugs. If you want to do your drugs, leave it in the cell. Like, this is how strict the Muslim yard was at Goulburn, you know, and it was the reason why a lot of Lebo boys who were bad on the drugs didn't want to go to the Muslim yard, because they knew that they were going to be forced to get off it, or forced to do as they were told, you know. And the amount of boys that I've seen go in there and turn religious, and I knew that they weren't being religious because they were smoking Ugdrays in their cell or in the toilets, you know. And if they had done something wrong, they were getting whipped. This was one big thing in Goulburn that was known by officers, and there was like guys that were there making this happen. I'm not going to say the names of these people, but I know them very, very well, and I also saw it with my own eyes, but I'm going to keep it to myself. But these people contradict themselves, yeah, because they were the ones whipping the Ichse out of the Muslim boys who were taking Ugdrays. They were the ones who were whipping the skin off these boys who were making mistakes in the Muslim yard. And then guess what? Come today, what happened? They're on drugs, you know. This is why I always say, like, hey, look after yourself. You want to be religious? Be religious. Like, don't go and throw your antics onto someone else, onto another young kid that's just coming in, because right now you're at the top. You know, like all these guys that was in the Muslim yard throwing their weight around using the religious card and saying that they would never ever turn to crime again, that they will never ever be a gangster again. Guess what? They're all out here being gangsters, and they're all out of prison smoking drugs. And when they were at Goulburn, they were the ones who were leading the way, saying, you're going to get whipped because of this and that. You're going to get whipped because of this and that. And these were all young guys walking into the Muslim yard thinking, bro, what the hell? You're not my dad to whip me, you know? But these were the rules they had. They had to follow it because they were Muslim, yeah? And I was there, I swear to you, when this young guy was getting whipped by one of the older Muslim boys, yeah? And Mustafa Dib, he couldn't hack it, yeah? So he walked over and he goes, bro, you know, the last 20 lashes that he has to get, I think the kid got 40 lashes. And after the 20 lashes, Mustafa Dib stepped in. He goes, please, he goes, I'll take his last 20 lashes. And I remember as a joke, I had gotten this long cardboard and I was running around the yard, whipping boys in my yard as a joke. We're just mucking around because I was saying to the boys, you want to muck around, this is what's going to happen to you. And I was just having a laugh, yeah? And then I remember one of the Muslim sweepers, he goes to me, hey, Pete, if you're going to whip, make sure your elbow's down like that, hold it tight like this, and bah! Okay. And I was like, whoa, there's even a method of whipping. These guys are crazy, bro. You know? And then that incident that happened that day, I was actually in the pod as a sweeper. And I remember seeing Mustafa Dib walking over, and I didn't know what was going on. And I asked one of the other boys, I go, bro, what's going on? Is Mustafa getting into some issue? He goes, nah. Because one of the younger boys got copped 40 lashes, but Mustafa's like saying he'll take the other 20. So yeah, he took the other 20 lashes for the younger guy, and all props to him. Like, he was now part of the older generation, Mustafa Dib, and this is the type of man he is. Like I told you, he's a gentleman, you know what I mean? Now, fast forward to the drama that occurred, yeah? Eddie Darwich came in there. Obviously, everyone was doing the religious thing, reading the Quran, Friday prayers, praying 5 times a week, and he came, but instead of like following suit, he kind of like started stepping on people's toes. Like I actually get along with Eddie very well. He's a good guy, mind you. I consider him a machine. I've seen this bloke train off his head, mate. Like for an old school guy, this guy, mate, he doesn't muck around, like chin-ups, dips, he does it all, like it's nothing, yeah? Younger guys who are like 2019 are struggling, trying to do their dips, trying to do their chin-ups. You look over at Eddie Darwich, mate, he's pumping it like it's nothing, This is the same as his Coley, Ramsey, Awad, and Mustafa Dib. They used to run 2 hours, every single day, 2 hours. But this issue with Eddie Darwich is when he walked in there, Mustafa Dib, Eddie Darwich started stepping on boys' toes, and he was throwing his weight around a bit. I was speaking to him at the time, and obviously, I get along with him. But then there was a day that an incident broke out, and he had a push and shove with a few of the Muslim boys, and these Muslim boys are well loved, and they all loved Eddie Darwich as well, But the push and shove never should have happened because the yard is supposed to be religious, and to the Muslim boys it was like Eddie was trying to bring his gang-related ways from Supermax into the yard, which is what the yard didn't want. The Muslim yard wanted to keep the Muslim yard religious, and obviously they felt that he was overstepping the mark. And a few of those boys who he pushed and shoved with ended up being Leonard, yeah? Now, exactly what happened was Leonard and another Assyrian guy, his name was Jalal, just a little short bloke from Mount Jewel area, yeah? He's not from Fairfield like the rest of the Assyrian boys in the last hour. This guy was from out Mount Jewel ways. They went to visits on the same day as Darwich went to visits. Now, this was all organized, yeah? So Darwich went to visit, thinking nothing about the other day when the pushing and shoving happened. And Leonard went, and he had a Ibshay on him, and Jalal went, and he had the handle of a Breville. So, for example, let's say this is your Breville inside, this part here, and there's a handle, like, bro, when you snap that off, I'm telling you, it's harder than a trolley pole. The reason why I'm bringing up a trolley pole is because back in the days when the juvenile gangs used to go and fight each other, they would all rip off trolley poles, and the handle of a flat Breville, mate, I'm telling you, it'll rip you in half. Like it's very, very dangerous, and that's the reason why flat Brevilles with those handles are no longer allowed inside prison, was because of that incident that happened that day with Darwich and that. Now, when you go to visits, doesn't matter what visit it is, you don't get searched when you're coming in. So pretty much, here's your lockers, yeah? And when you walk into visits, you have to take off your clothes, and then they hand you overalls. So you have to swindle a move in order to hide your shit. So, for example, this would be Leonard, yeah, taking off his jumper, like he would have his Ibshay under here, and then when he take off his jumper, he would have to hold on to it and hide it, and then put his jumper in the locker because you can't let the screw see it. It's happened time and time again with the Islander boys, so I know exactly how it works. And Jalal got his Breville handle into his locker, no worries at all. The screw's not seeing it. Same as Leonard. Then they went into visits. They had their visits. As soon as Darwich finished his visit, he got up and he walked out. As he was walking out, Leonard and Jalal finished up their visits and they followed. So remember, to all you youngsters out there, this is prison life. Like, do you really want to be involved in this type of stuff? Yeah, tap it up if you think that this is the type of story that the youngsters need to learn from. All right, all of yous on TikTok, I need you to tap it up. Darwich goes through. Another Muslim boys goes through who also finish visits, and so does Leonard and Jalal. All right, they go in and they get searched. Now, what happens when you get searched is, as soon as you get searched, they'll do it like 2 at a time. Unless there's no staff, they'll do it 1 at a time. So 2 at a time. Darwich and the other Muslim guy went and got strip searched, and now they're only in their undies. Then they have to go grab their clothes. Now, you don't have to put your clothes back on in front of the screws. You can grab your clothes, go into the cell where you have to wait to go to your pod, and then you can get dressed in your cell. This is how the officers didn't see the weapons that the Assyrian boys had. All right, bang. The 2 Muslim boys grab their clothes and they go get dressed inside that cell. The Assyrian boys, same thing, strip searched in their undies. Then they go to their locker, and when they grab their clothes from their locker, now they've got to hold onto it tight, because if their weapon falls, they're going to immediately get tackled on the ground. They're going to get charged for having a weapon. All right, so they're holding tight on their clothes, and then they walk into the cell. And remember, these boys are getting dressed, so they have to face their back, to the boys that are getting dressed, which is Eddie Darwich and the other Muslim brother. And while they're getting dressed, they now have to make sure that Eddie doesn't see they got weapons. So remember, this is like the types of moves that happens inside prison, and the types of moves that was happening in the island yard. So the drama that happened here is also the same rubbish that happened in the island yard. Soon as Jalal and Leonard secured their weapons so that Eddie Darwich didn't see it, boom, they got let out of the cell by the screws, and now they have to walk back to their unit. All right, they're walking back to their unit, and I remember the first bar got open and they walked through. I could hear it when I was mopping the floor, and then the second bar got open, and then they walked through. As I heard the second bar, like, because I'm a sweeper, I like going to have a look to see who's coming so I can say hi if it's one of my friends. Heard the second bar open, and then I ran over. As I ran over, I looked like that. Now remember, I told you guys, I was there the day it happened, and I saw it. Exactly everything that I saw is going to be presented to you guys now. Not all the rubbish that you hear from everyone. It was Christians versus Muslims. It was Assyrians versus Libers. No, it was just that incident that had to be fixed because of the pushing and shoving. All right. So I was up the top when I looked, and I seen Eddie Darwich walking, and there was Leonard, who was just like catching up, and then the other Lebanese fella, and then Jalal was hanging back. All right. Eddie was walking. Out of nowhere, Leonard jumps in the air, comes down, boom, it was on. The Eve Shane was just going hard out, like Leonard was just going to town on Darwich, and Darwich was just shocked. So when he went down, he covered up and he was trying to get out of it, but Leonard had him covered every angle he turned, every angle he tried to move. Leonard was just like going to town on him, The other Lebanese fella, he wasn't trying to get involved. He was just trying to like go and stop it. But then Jalal come running from the side with the rebel handle and smack straight across the face and started going to town on him, pretty much, now you got 2 of the Lebanese boys getting attacked by 2 Assyrian boys who have both got weapons. And by the time the screws came there and started shooting, no one had been dropped. Like all the 4 boys that was there getting into this fight, no one had been dropped. Pretty much, Darwich was covering up. He was trying to get up, but he couldn't. Like Leonard was all over him, And then the other fellow who had nothing to do with it, like he just got hammered just because it looked like he was going to be trying to get involved, But I give it to Darwich because once the gas started shooting in that, like he pulled back and mate, he had blood pissing from everywhere, but he was still standing. But if you guys see Darwich and Leonard, you wouldn't think it's like an even fight. But Leonard is he's got big balls, like he's got big courage, but he's also got respect So I'm not going to talk out of school on this one, yeah? But let me tell you something. The incident that happened that day, all right, it needed to happen because the Muslim boys wanted their yard to be religious again, all right? So there was none of this, Darwich came out of it and then he started swinging haymakers and he was going on. No, there was none of that. He was covered up the whole time, and yes, he tried to come out of it to try to fight, but he couldn't because Leonard was all over him. Like, you just imagine like Eve coming down on you and you're trying to get away from it. You know, like you're literally trying to stay away from the aid blade. So that's pretty much what he was doing. But as soon as he got away from Leonard's grip, that's when like he came up and he was like going off, but it was too late. The screws were there and they stopped it, you know. And the Assyrian boys came out on top on that day, and then they got taken to Segro. All of them got taken to Segro. The very moment that happened, there was a Syrian guy who was still in the Muslim yard. I didn't know he was Assyrian at the time, but apparently, like this guy gets along with the Lebanese boys as well. He got jumped because of what happened, yeah. But it was a bit weird because everyone ended up in Segro. I was in Segro as well at the time when those boys went to Segro. So after that incident, I went to Segro a couple of days later for something stupid that I did. So I was in there with them, and I was with Darwich, and I remember being next to him. And a couple of weeks later, he started going off, and I was thinking, bro, what's going on? I was listening, and he was like, "What do you mean my yard doesn't want me back?" And the governor was like, "Mate, they don't want you back in the yard." He goes, "Get the F out of here." He goes, "Call Ramsey, call this person, call that person." Who's going off? He goes, "Mate," he goes, "I'm a Muslim." He goes, "I'm Lebanese." He goes, "That's my yard." He goes, "I'm allowed to go back to my yard. That's my brothers in there," you know. He was going off his head. And the governor kept saying to him, he goes, "Mate, I can't let you back out. They don't want you back." And I was sitting there to myself and I was like, that can't be right. The boy's not letting Eddie come back to the yard. I go, you can't do that. I'm like, tell the screw not to let someone come back into the yard. Like, that's a shit go. Like, you know, like even if he's being a bully or if he's throwing his weight around, you know, if he wants to be a gangster, then he will be dealt with accordingly. But he needs to come out if you're gonna, you know, do what you got to do to keep the yard religious. But I was there. I heard it with my own ears. The governor said it. He said, "Your boys don't want you back in the yard." And I remember when I got out of Segro, I confronted one of the Muslim boys, and I'm not going to say his name, and I said it to him. I said to him, "Bro, like, what happened?" And he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "I was there in Segro with Eddie, and the governor was telling him that you guys don't want him back in the yard." I go, "What happened there? You can't do that." I said, "You know, in the Islander yard," I go, if we have to sort out internal dramas, that person will be dealt with accordingly, but we wouldn't tell the screws, don't bring him out. Like, you can't do that, you know." And I remember that Muslim boy looking at me. He goes to me, "Pete, I'm a nobody in this yard." He goes, "I know I've been in for over 15 years. He goes, "But I don't call the shots, bro." He goes, "Look, to me, it was a shit go that they didn't let him come back. But also at the same time, bro," he goes, "like, man, if he came back," he goes, "he would have just caused havoc in the yard, bro." He goes, "This yard is peaceful. This yard is religious. And yeah, we got a few boys here and there that smoke drugs and do the wrong thing." He goes, "But at the end of the day, 99% of the time, everyone in here is doing the right thing, you know." And I think that's one big thing that I took from the Muslim yard when I was doing my 10 years is, number one, very, very clean boys. Like, every single one of them used to clean their cell, like, from top to bottom. Like, if you see other inmates, when they move cells, yeah, they'll just scrub a little bit here, scrub a little bit there, and then they'll move their stuff in, you know, like, just dust up the rubbish. The Muslims, what they do, they'll take everything out, and then they'll throw water all on the roof, all on the sides, and they'll scrub the hell out of it. Like, it's their home now, that bedroom, you know. For all of you guys on TikTok that's looking at this cell, obviously this is a Supermax cell. It's not what the cell looks like in the main. But even when I was in Supermax, every time in Supermax you have to move every 28 days, yeah. So every time I used to move, I would move into a Muslim boys cell because majority of the boys that are in Supermax are Muslim boys. And I'm telling you, every time I moved into a cell, it was spotless. Like the boys would scrub the hell out of us. Every time I would move in there, I was like always happy, you know. It's not like other prisons where you move into a cell and you're like, oh, bro, holding your nose, BO, stink everywhere, like it's putrid, yeah. But with Darwich and Leonard, that was a situation that broke out, and Eddie Darwich, never ever forgot it. Like he attacked 2 Assyrians like throughout his time in the main, and still this guy like holds a grudge, obviously because he's a gangster. Like you can't take that away from the guy, you know. And I understand what the Muslim boys were doing when they didn't let him back in the yard. Like yeah, now that I'm older and wiser, I understand it was the right choice, you know, because they were all trying to keep the yard spotless, you know. But when Eddie got moved to other prisons, mate, he he caused like a ruckus. Like everywhere he went, if he wasn't attacking Assyrians, he was attacking boys that were close to the Assyrian boys, you know, whether they were other nationalities, he didn't care. And just like Leonard, yeah, you can't take it away from him. He's as gangster as it gets as well. And my reason for telling you guys this story is because you guys who are listening and watching right now, that are in and amongst the gang stuff, but this is what you're going to be going through when you're coming to prison, you know, or going to prison, you know, because grudge holders is the biggest thing, you know. You think that people will leave the past in prison. It doesn't happen like that. No one forgets the past, you know. Whatever you done in the past outside, or whatever you done in the past in prison, it's always going to come back and bite you in the ass. And I promise you, they're going to shake your hand, they're going to hug you, wallah, no dramas, bro. And then as soon as they get an opportunity, whack, they're going to friggin' attack. I'll give you a good example, yeah. At Silverwater Prison, I'm not going to name the name of the older guy that shook this young guy's hand, yeah. He shook his hand, but there was internal dramas between their families outside, yeah. And this older guy shook his hand, the young fella, and said to him, all good, what's happening outside, we'll leave it outside, yeah. 3 days after this older guy shook this young guy's hand, the young guy was sitting on a table and he was just facing the office, and there's cameras everywhere on him, yeah. He's just sitting there facing the office, and he was just minding his own business. He had no newspaper, he wasn't eating or nothing, he was just sitting there on a chair by himself and just looking towards the office like this. Guess what happened? Guy come from the side, big A blade like this, and went to town on him, all over his head. After the older guy said there'll be no dramas and shook his hand. This is prison life, real prison life, all right? I swear to you, I was there on the day when they came and stretched him out, and there was blood from there all the way to the nurse's office, all the way into the friggin' ambulance that took him, and then they couldn't take him to the hospital because he was eating blood out, so they had to airlift him out of there to save his life. This guy all over the top of his head, bro. And it was the ugliest scene. But the most ugliest thing that I seen that day was the fact that I saw with my own eyes the older guy shake his hand and say, all good with the dramas outside. This is what you youngsters are going to be going through. Remember, I know for a fact that you guys aren't running your own stuff. I know for a fact that you guys aren't organized, you know. I know for a fact that you guys are running for someone, or you are listening to someone that's in the background who are helping you guys make money, who are helping you roll around in your Rolex, your little Gucci hat, your little freaking side Louis Vuitton bag. I know where you guys are getting it from, yeah? What I'm saying is, once you hit prison, everyone that's got issues with your bosses or with those guys that you consider your older boys is going to come bang, straight on top of you without you even thinking twice. Like, you're going to be like, bro, I got no issues with you guys. No, you got no issues. But guess what? You're a part of it. You know, because you were selling Ugly for that crew. You were moving at gays for that crew. You were driving that Ukraine around. This is why I keep telling you 9 to 5 guys, stop getting involved. I don't care if you're just freaking driving the gangster guy down the road. I don't care if you're just doing a little drop off. Right? When I'm saying what I'm saying is because I was in and amongst it. And I'm telling you guys, one little thing is going to freaking help you climb your way into prison. And once you're in there, that door's going to be shut closed, and you're not going to be able to freaking get out, and you're going to be sitting there trying to make excuses up to your missus, your mum, and your kids on why you are in there. And I'm not talking to the little gangster guys, I'm talking to the 9 to 5 guys who I know there's a lot of in prison. You know, they sit there, they're trying to make excuses. Nah, I swear it had nothing to do with me. Yeah, I'll be getting out soon. 2 years later, they'll be like, at trial, I'm going to beat it, and 100% I'll be home soon. 3 years goes by, they get sentenced to 5 years. They're like, bro, are you going to stick by me, or are you going to leave me with it? I'm telling you this stuff, guys, because I've seen it myself. So many times I've seen boys that come into jail who are not gang related, yeah, and I've actually seen them cry, yeah. It's freaking ugly to see a grown man cry, but I've seen it with my own eyes. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. To all you youngsters out there, please remember, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, and I will never try to tell you what to do, because who the hell am I to tell you what to do? I live that life, and I've done those stupid things, yeah? All I'm doing is providing my story with the hope that you guys learn from it. To each and every one of you guys that I was watching on from around the world, I give you my love and respect. To every single person that I sent through gifts, know that I appreciate it, and know that it is greatly appreciated. Also, to all my sponsors, thank you very much. Without you guys and without my team, I love yous, none of this would be able to happen. I've got a big goal in mind, which is my course. Obviously, you guys are all looking up at the top of my screen, and it says 1 million in 1 year legitimately. I love you. Thank you very much. And right now, there's $132,500 that I have gathered up in the last 3.5 months that I've been out of prison. All right. I don't know if I'm going to get that $1 million. That's just my goal. Is to show authority and to show you guys how I can make $1 million in 1 year legitimately. And this is my way of showing these media people that talk so much rubbish, and to also the police that automatically get it in their head, drug dealer, as soon as they see these guys driving around in nice cars. Let me tell you something. Every time you see a guy get out of prison and he's driving around in a Lamborghini or G-Wagon, let me tell you something. It doesn't belong to them. And if it does belong to them, it's on finance under their missus' name. All right? And to everyone that's been messaging me, the youngsters that have been messaging me, saying to me, bro, I just wanted to say I appreciate everything you're saying, but when I see you in a G-Wagon and when I see you spending money, like, I want to be like you. So, like, why should I listen to you? I probably copped about 4 or 5 messages from guys like that, yeah? And I had to explain to these guys, the G-Wagon that you see me in doesn't belong to me. You know, like, when you see Lamborghinis and stuff in stuff that I'm involved in, it's not mine, all right? When you build your reputation, doesn't matter whether it's in the gang world or in the legitimate world, yeah? When you build your reputation, you start building a network. When you have this network, you start getting things for free, all right? Now, people that I know in the luxury car company, they give me free cars whenever I ask for, because of the love and respect that they have for me for things I've done for them in the past, all right? I'm not freaking Mr. Multimillionaire as soon as I got out of prison. No, I'm freaking striving, and freaking this number up here should have been on 180,000. But guess why it's not on 180,000? Because my niece and her partner were getting married, and they begged me for my help. And what am I going to say? I'm trying to reach $1 million to show you guys and to show authority that I can make this money within 1 year. But at the end of the day, I have family that I have to take care of. So I had to freaking spend $45,000 to help my niece and her partner with their wedding, because both of their families couldn't afford to help them. You know, and I was upset because I was like, why are you getting married if you just can't afford it? But hey, who am I to talk? That's love. You know, who am I to stop love? So what the hell did I do? Instead of thinking about these $1 million that I'm trying to aim at, this goal that I've got here, I took 45K out of it and I put it straight onto all the expenses for my niece's wedding and her partner's wedding. I have a parole officer and a psychologist who tell me, Pete, you need to learn how to say no. But fuck, this is the type of person I've been my whole life. You know what I mean? So I understand that I have to say no sometimes, but at the end of the day, family is family. Anyway, my love and respects to each and every one of you out there. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love. This is Triggz. It is what it is.